All right, we're live. Now, you actually were a fan of the Trump press conference?
I mean, I wasn't not a fan of it. Um, I'm a fan of fuckery overall, but I'm also a fan of straight talk. And so, one thing you can say about Trump is that he's not subtle about his position at all. Even when he's trying to be subtle, when he's trying to be like creative about it or whatever, it's still very obvious where he stands. And I like that.
So you're just a fan of his straight talk, regardless of.
Yeah, I mean that's why we voted him into office.
That's a good point. It did get
Straight
him
talk
in the office.
wireless.
Does the policy matter or no?
Well, the policy, unfortunately, that's one thing that bugs me because he never actually gets to the policy.
I agree with you.
So hopefully, now that he's going to be in office and he's going to get his people appointed, we'll start to actually getting some actual policy and some actual work done, and we'll see what it is, and we'll tear that down. But as far as press conferences go, it's always just bullshit.
Does that trouble you at all?
No, not really, because it's not any different than anybody else, man. To be honest, because everybody else, for example, they'll tell you what they're gonna do, and then they end up not doing it anyway. So at least this guy's just not telling you what he's gonna do, and then we'll see what it turns out to be.
And do you trust the Congress to?
Nah, baby.
They're the ones going to make most of the policy, though.
Well, you know what? I mean, I voted for my congressperson. I trust that my two elected officials, or three actually, do their part and vote my feelings. And I hope that everyone else's does the same. I mean, the problem is these people get bought, so.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't hold everybody accountable. I can only hold accountable the people that I vote for, right? So I don't know about the other 396 Congress people, but the two that I voted for, I'm looking out for these guys.
Yeah. And I mean, did you end up voting for Donald too?
Nah, hell no.
No.
I voted for Joe Stein.
Gotcha.
That didn't work out.
That was actually a vote for Donald.
Well, from what I hear, so was a vote for Gary Johnson.
Yes, it was, and
the way making this sound.
Like you, I voted my conscience. And you know what? I'm on the Trump chain, and I'm ready for the crash. I'm ready to hit the wall.
Let's go, man. Let's go. Terminal velocity.
Yeah, there's no turning back.
Listen, at this point, look, even if the thing about the golden showers were true, it would do absolutely no damage to his reputation because he has no reputation. His reputation is shit anyway.
It's true. If he can win the election grabbing women by the pussy, then
exactly.
I'm pretty sure it's not going to matter.
I mean, my man said that the American people don't care about tax returns. They don't care about tax returns. I got elected, right? Fuck out of here. You care about this shit.
Part of me kind of feels like the tax returns are going to be the liberal Benghazi, our email scandal. Like they're going to hold on to it. He's never released his taxes. We're going to hear about it nonstop, just like that Benghazi bullshit. Like
they're going to try, but liberals aren't good at that. Like the Republicans are, like conservatives are. They don't hold grudges as well.
Do you guys not find a problem with him not releasing his taxes?
I mean, I found a problem with Hillary's email scandal, and I find a problem with Trump's tax thing, but it doesn't. Get over it.
Yeah, ultimately, it's
It's like people overlooked scandals when it was on their side, and now when it's the other side, can't get past it. And I mean, it's happening on both sides of the fucking aisle. It's just part of the game at this point.
Yeah, but I think I mean. You have two problems really with the tax returns. I mean, you're breaking a huge precedent, and also transparency. I think that's a no-go. I mean, to me, in my mind, especially when you want to talk about accountability and conflicts of interest. That's huge. The other one is obviously how he planned on diversifying his divesting from his business, which
I was gonna mention that.
is not going to happen from what he said.
And he said, "Fuck that." He said, "Fuck that. That's not gonna hurt my money."
Yeah, and these are constitutional issues, and you know, a lot of presidents have had money and had real business empires, and they've always been able to just do blind trusts. And Trump being unwilling to do that, especially with all the other clouds hanging over him, it's not good. And these are things that could have been rectified, but he's chosen not to. So I don't see how we should.
Because he's not legally forced to, man. Like, I'm not gonna do anything I don't have to do. And like, especially if you're headstrong like he is, he's not gonna do anything he doesn't have to do, or he doesn't feel like he has to do.
I mean,
it's up to the ACLU and these motherfuckers to start suing the fuck out of him and get busy these next 4 years to get him to do anything.
They shouldn't have to, though.
Why shouldn't they have to? Why should he concede his position?
In the interest of the country.
That's true. Idealistically, it's true, but that's never how it works, man, on either side.
No, but every president before him has done that.
Every president before him has been a pussy.
Looking like a true Trump, man.
I mean, you gotta push boundaries, man. You know, like you gotta challenge the law, bro.
He's definitely doing that.
Yeah, that's just too dumb for me to even respond to.
What I'm curious, look, even as far as his nominations go for a lot of things, you know, people say, oh, he's picking a lot of people from a lot of hawks, right? A lot of war hawks or whatever the hell. But really, what I see it as is that he's picking a lot of people that aren't directly involved, like in politics. They aren't politicians. He's trying to pick people that are experienced, but are experienced in a different way, which is the only other way besides, you know, through Congress is through the military. So he's picking a lot of military people, which, I mean, I'm curious to see how that goes. I'm curious to see how this all goes.
I mean, looking at history, would you really want a government stacked full of generals?
I'll see how it goes, bro. I mean, what you want me to say? No, I'll see how it goes. Maybe they can be bought.
I mean,
come on, let's be serious here. Most people who leave the military go into private, you know, in contractors, you know.
Well,
you guys want to talk about corruption? Come on.
Well, we've already seen how it works with politicians, which is what the only other alternative that was on the table. So, I mean, you really are kind of like, let's see how it goes.
No, you could have gotten technocrats or people who, you know, they've worked their whole lives in these fields. We didn't want to do that.
Those people aren't stupid enough to want to be involved in this shit. Look at Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren, people were begging for her to run. She's not stupid. She's not gonna get into this shit.
She's not a technocrat, though.
Yeah, but she's been like, you know, in her field for a long time, and a politician for a very short amount of time. So she would have been like, that mold is the ideal. Someone who's just dipped their toe in politics and has actually had a profession. But those people aren't gonna get it. They're not gonna be involved in this political circus. It's a circus, is what it is, man.
And I mean, yeah, do they find some people? I mean, Rex Tillerson, yeah, maybe put him as, well, that wouldn't be great either. I mean, we need to test him more.
He can't be bought.
What?
Right? He can't be bought.
How do you figure?
I don't know. I'm hoping. I mean, he's already a fucking billionaire, right? Maybe he can't be bought.
They all have interests, though, and they all have their ideologies, which goes in line with anything. But I mean, these people are solely driven by profit. That's what their whole lives were based on. So, you know, and that's the same problem.
By the profit of the United States of America.
If they cared about that, they would have had a life in public service.
One could argue that they were doing a service for America throughout their careers, spreading the good word, building the economy.
I think Trump made that same argument, and I think he's full of shit.
I mean, it's an argument to be made, though.
Not a very strong one. But yeah, I mean, it's not great. Not great all around.
Trump is so polarizing. So,
I love it, man. I love it.
How do you guys feel about Jeff Sessions? Do you think that's going to be a good thing, Gons?
You know what, man? I sat and I watched a couple of C-SPAN segments on him, and you know I heard the pros and cons from both people or whatever, and it just seems to me like he'd be an upstanding citizen, bro. You like that, dude?
What does that even mean?
I mean, pretty much.
He didn't even say he'd be good at the job. He'd be an upstanding citizen.
Wow.
No, and what I mean by that is, look, everything that I heard about him from people that like him, people that hate him, people that agree with everything he said and done, and people that don't, is that this guy is like genuinely like a good guy, like a Boy Scout type of thing, and he'll follow the law to the I, whatever, however that phrase goes. I mean, may he have defended the wrong people in the past as a prosecutor or whatever the hell he was, maybe. But, you know, he was doing his job.
I don't think there's a maybe about that. I mean, he targeted civil rights people who were trying to fucking mail in ballots legally.
Listen, for every defendant or defender, there's a prosecutor, right? So it's like somebody's got to pay the bad guy.
But he's the one who brings the cases. You know what they do, right?
Somebody's going to bring the cases.
But if they're not fucking legal, if they're against the Constitution, that's what he's done several times. You understand?
Like I said, bro, you got to push these limits, though. You got to challenge things.
So if he was too racist in 1986, keep that in mind. 1986, he was too racist to be a fucking judge. In 2016, it's okay. Explain that to me.
You know, the older you get soft on these issues, man.
I don't think so. I think you get fucking harder.
Nah, you get soft, bro. And besides, that case against him was pretty weak, man. I've heard people say, "Oh, this happened." I heard somebody call him somebody or tell him, or what, or a boy, or whatever. That's a soft ass case, man. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. That's as soft as the Trump getting peed on case.
All right. So, do you think as a young man, Trump liked to get pissed on, and it just started to happen as he got older?
I don't know, bro. Sometimes you get bored. You want to try new shit.
Okay.
So you're conservative. You're conservative in the bedroom, but liberal in your politics.
Do you think maybe not so much masculine, but do you think that's you think it's a dominant position to get pissed on, or is that kind of beta? You know?
No, it's neither here nor there, bro. It's just something different.
Both.
It's just something different, man.
It's not quite vanilla, though.
You think it's beta that 50 got live a couple of finger up his ass or whatever, or lick his asshole, whatever the fuck she did? It's just different, something different. He wanted to try something different.
I hear what you're saying. So
basically, like I said, as far as everyone says about Jeff Sessions, the only thing they got to hold against them is this 1980, whatever the hell it was, fact that he didn't get chosen for the attorney general or whatever. But aside from that, everyone says he's actually a very good guy and a guy that follows the law. And that's all you need as a prosecutor or as the attorney general. And he even said that he would prosecute Trump and, you know, make sure Trump follows the letter of the law, yada yada yada. So.
And do you think he's a good guy by Southern standards or, you know, larger standards?
I'd argue that, you know, Southern standards are the standard, bro. You ever met somebody from the country?
Oh yeah.
Like in the country, man, you gotta be a good guy. Everybody knows everybody, or if you're an asshole, everybody knows you're an asshole.
So, Jim Crow laws, would you consider those asshole-ish, or?
Are we talking about Jeff Sessions? Or are we talking about 1945, bro? You tell me.
I don't know. I don't think they ended until the 60s or the 70s when they were forced.
Even though Sessions was in the 80s, man, you tell me, man.
I think Sessions was prosecuted for some time, buddy. Anyways, so the fact that Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife has written letters, you know, not wanting him to get appointed because he's seen as that much of a threat to civil rights, is that not a red flag to you?
Okay, so he's a lawyer, and he's seen as a lawyer against civil rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are many lawyers for civil rights, right? This will get settled in the court. Let's see let's see what happens. Push it to the limit.
This isn't just law. This isn't just rule of law, though.
What else is there?
This is his personal positions.
Yeah, but his personal positions aren't law.
That's what he's trying to do.
But he can't do that by himself. He can't do that. He's not like he doesn't make the law. He enforces the law. He legislates the law or whatever the fuck, prosecutes it.
I don't think you're following.
But he's not gonna say, oh, you know what? I think that these people shouldn't go into that bathroom, so I'm going to. No, that law has to be in the books. So he's not the one that makes the law.
But he's going to have a strong position on that. He's part of the checks and balances.
He's going to have a side, but it's going to be a counter argument. Who's going to? I mean, ultimately, what you should be worried about is the Supreme Court. That's what you should be worried about.
I'm worried about that as well.
I mean, but I actually haven't seen the list of nominees that this guy put up, so I can't tell you. I can't tell you how worried about that I am yet.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Trump's undercover liberal, bro.
Yeah, I don't think so. Dad, where's your 2 cents at, man?
I'm all the way in the just wait and see boat. He hasn't written any legislation yet. He hasn't even served a day. It's just, I think a lot of the criticisms are going a little too far.
Too far, man.
And his appointees don't give you any cause for mild concern?
I mean, like I said in the previous podcast, I think this is what change looks like, man. It's scary and ugly. If you could have picked people, obvious choices, people that were qualified, I think it would have been more of the same.
Drain the swamp, baby.
Let's pick
the magic owner.
I think change is always going to look like, you know, outside of the norm and outside of sense. It just won't make sense. You'll just be like, what? And then when it works, it'll be, you know, he's either going to be real good or real bad. I don't think he's going to be an in-between president. I don't think he's going to just be a, you know, lame duck, just floated through president. He's going to either be really good or really bad.
Honestly, I'm more worried about the congressional Republicans than I am about him, because they're all crazy people.
It's Congress, like, that's a good point. Congress is much more concerning than Donald Trump, but oh look, it's just right now the country is in a spot where it's very receptive to his message, especially on the job issues, so on the economy. So it's just, you got to sit back and wait and see, because there are people out there that are really counting on Trump, and they don't and they don't actually care about his taxes. Like, people who are not working and he's saying he's going to bring jobs back to, they don't care about his taxes.
I don't quite get that job thing, man, because I mean the economy is doing better than it's been done in the last 10 years. Like, how the fuck are people so worried about jobs now?
Dad, man to man, you think these jobs are coming back, man?
I think short term, yes. Long term, no. These jobs, he can make deals now, and companies can like hold out a little longer. But no, these jobs are leaving and they aren't coming back, and a lot of them are just not going to exist anymore. And I mean, that's the actual truth. But if he can keep people working while he's in office, then that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Perception is reality.
You grew up in Michigan, or am I thinking of somebody else?
You're thinking of someone else.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, when you see these places firsthand that, you know, had manufacturing and had, you know, all these, you know, the titans of industry of America the last 50 years, you know, you can tell that the boat sailed a long time ago. So I don't understand the people on the ground who think that things are going to change. I mean, your dad got laid off. You probably got laid off. It's kind of fucking mind blowing.
Like, actually, I think it was you, like a podcast or two ago, who was saying there's just like one generation in the middle that just really has no professional outlooks. They just really have like nothing to look forward to. They're just kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whose fault is that?
It's a whole lot of factors.
I don't think it's not just personal choice. I mean, I think that would be way too easy just to cast off.
Nah, fuck that, man. Ultimately, it always comes down to that, man. There's always outside factors, but like, especially, I mean, you always got somewhere to go to find work, man. You know how far people go to find a job? You can always go somewhere, man.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, yeah, if you have money, I mean, the thing is, you know, if you look at American savings rates, you look at incomes, and they've done studies, you know, people in this country are so poor they can't even afford to move to new places to find jobs. And in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I mean, cities, not just in the Northeast, but it becomes so expensive that the prospect of moving there, even living in them, is unattainable to most people.
People in this country are so poor they can't even find the ability to move to find a job. Yet people that are even poorer find a way to get here to find a job.
In the sense of what?
In the sense of immigrants.
I don't think you can compare immigrants to the poor people of this country, honestly.
Why not?
It's just an unfair comparison.
If anything, we got the advantage. At least we already speak English.
Yeah, but the thing is, what you find with a lot of these immigrants, they're actually fairly wealthy, or they are highly trained in whatever field that they studied in their country.
There's some like that, and there's many that aren't.
I don't think so anymore. Immigration's become extremely difficult, even legal immigration.
I'm not talking about legal ones.
So I think you're using one of those buzzwords again. You're talking about Mexican immigrants that are crossing the border, yes?
Not even Mexican. I
know a lot of people say that. I don't think immigrants even means immigrants anymore. I think it means Mexicans that are coming here illegally.
Yeah, Gons, I think you should, you know, put it out in plain English for us, because I'm talking about.
Okay, I wasn't even thinking Mexican, but I'm thinking like Caribbean immigrants from anywhere, bro. These people come, they might have a visa, they might have been able to save enough money to get a visa.
I think it is the argument, like the Caribbean immigrants, Asian immigrants, they fall into 88's category of actually having a skill or having saved up money to get here, whereas the Mexican immigrants are more likely to have just packed up all their belongings and just crossed the border and had a child. I think that's just the reality of it.
Nah, but think about it. But even if you saved up money to get here, right? Once you got here, you ain't got shit.
No, I just think you're misconstruing the the idea of immigration, whether it's legal or even illegal immigrants from, which are a very small number, from the Caribbean or from Asian countries. I mean, Asian countries, let's be specific, perhaps China, perhaps Vietnam. But the thing is, a lot of those immigrants came between 1960, maybe 1990. The same for the people from the Caribbean. Those people all were skilled or had money. And if you read about immigration waves and push and pull factors regarding them, you have a much better understanding of the communities that you're talking about specifically. And a lot of the, you know, if you want to talk about West Indians or maybe even certain Hispanic countries who moved here at specific points of turmoil in their countries, those people, they were all relatively high skilled, and a lot of them, they're all legalized now. They either had money, they had skills, they were engineers, they were doctors, they were highly skilled people, business owners. You get the same people from the Middle East. So, you know, they're not a drain on society in the least. And also with West Indians and the Hispanics from South America and the Caribbean, you found that they already had people who came here in the early 1900s. So, you know, they were coming over to families who had already built up businesses and built up education levels that equaled their American counterparts or were even above them.
I think there's a little bit of truth to what Gonzo's saying too, that some immigrants are just plain out willing to work harder than Americans are. You see that here in California, like in the ag industry, you see it all the time. Americans aren't going out in the fields. Like they're just willing to work harder under worse conditions.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe Americans need to be knocked off their pedestal a little if they want to compete in the job market.
I don't think Americans can compete in that type of job market, and I think it's kind of unrealistic to expect them to. I mean, even, your politicians in, the southern states, Southwest, and California, they know that Americans aren't going to fill these jobs because when they've passed these controversial, the same with the Midwest, when they've tightened immigration laws before, you can't find someone to work for Purdue. You can't find someone to go pick your, whatever in the fucking fields because no one wants to do that. There isn't the money. There isn't the health insurance. There's nothing. And that's part of the problem with these immigration ideas. If you get rid of all these people, you're going to have serious price increases in the cost of your goods, or these companies are going to fold. And that alone, you're going to have a shortage of goods, possibly even perhaps. So, you need to either give these people working visas of some sort, legalize them. I think it's just a fear sale, this whole thing about Mexico. And at the same time, more Mexicans have been leaving the country than have actually been coming in, I think, over the last 10 plus years. So I just think it's a fear thing.
Isn't that like such a just astounding statement to make? Like when you just really sit back and think about, you can't expect Americans to work those kind of jobs. Like just really think about that.
You picked up on it. Thank you so much. I was going to mention the same thing.
So that's just really let that sink in. Like
I was thinking to myself, are we not human beings? Can we not do the same fucking work? Get the fuck out of here.
It's a real PC way of saying we're better than they are, and we're not going to do that lowly work.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think it's the reality of the situation. I mean, if people can't support themselves, why are they going to work?
I mean, they can make the same minimum. If they're making minimum wage, then that's what they're making at, doing fries and flipping burgers anyways. Why won't they work in the fields? I mean, we have a minimum wage for a reason, so it's not technically worse than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's an American arrogance that we're trying to account for. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. No, I think you're right. Americans aren't going to fill those jobs. I think that is the reality of it, but I think it's kind of bullshit at the same time.
No, look, it is the arrogance because, for example, growing up, when I was going to get my first job, I couldn't get a job at Burger King or whatever flipping burgers because, hey, I was born here. I'm supposed to be an American now, so I can't get a job flipping burger. That's what the immigrants do.
Yeah,
so,
Americans,
so I think Americans have that mentality when it comes to a lot of industries and a lot of jobs.
And that's the problem. Probably to a point. And I mean, I'm not going to do it. I don't think either of you guys are going to do it. So if we're going to talk about arrogance, I don't know if that's a good place to start, guys.
But if my choice is one job or another, it doesn't matter which one I'm fucking doing.
We called it American arrogance, and we're all American. That's enough said. We all fit it. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. But I think it kind of throws a grain of salt in any kind of side-by-side comparisons of poverty or work ethic. Like, you can't really argue that the people in America at the bottom are as hungry or willing to work as hard as those who are coming over. I think Gonzo's actually right. Like, they'll work literally under whatever conditions in order to establish themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge advantage at the bottom of the economy.
So where does that leave people complaining about jobs and wages with our past statements in mind?
Jobs and wages. Are you talking about increasing the minimum wage?
Just as a standard. So if Americans won't do these jobs, but Americans want jobs, what jobs are you going to give them? Because, I mean, that's the crux of the issue. That's the crux of the immigration issue. that it's taking jobs away from Americans, but Americans don't want to do these jobs. That's a fact. And that the wages are too low across the board, especially for manual labor as it is. So how do you write that disconnect where people want jobs, but they don't want the jobs that are available?
So what you have is Americans who are okay with these brown people in the fields, but the moment they start seeing them downtown, it's a problem. They're taking these jobs from us, but they don't feel like they're taking those jobs from us.
Maybe. And, hiring practices are problematic across the country. And are illegal immigrants working in a lot of businesses and professions? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, I don't know, especially at the corporate level where you have to, be giving people insurance and you have to be paying people on the books. Illegal immigrants aren't taking those jobs. So,
listen, the ones complaining most about jobs aren't in the big cities, man. They're like in these small towns, right?
Yeah, they're
they're
Trump supporters.
Yeah, but they have to be willing to one, get off the pedestal of not wanting to do the jobs that immigrants are willing to do, or two, I mean, somebody in that family has to decide, listen, I'm going to try and make a way for all of us. Let me try and go and get a job in San Diego or where the fuck, and I'll send some money back. I mean, all these Chinese motherfuckers in the same room, 10 motherfuckers in one room trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, how do we get that to change on a large scale? Is that possible?
Desperation. Once they get desperate enough, they'll take anything.
No, but these people have been desperate for generations, Gons. That's what you're not seeing.
Nah, they haven't been, man. There's too much of a safety net in this motherfucker. Ain't that right, Deb?
Yeah, there's been American desperation. It's not the same. Like when people make comments like the middle class is barely getting by, like you could just, that sounds so absurd to people outside of America that are in actual poverty. Like, wait, you have a house and a car, you call that barely getting by? But anyway, it's just Americans live in a totally different world, and you really got to understand what they mean when they use certain terms. But I think if Trump's policies are put into place, it's going to happen regardless. Like if he really cuts off the flow of immigrants, or he's not, well, he can't cut it off. If he slows it enough, we're going to have to make some tough choices. And I think it's going to end up being a situation where the price of goods is just going to increase.
And the price of living expenses has to come down too. Even though honestly, it's not too expensive to live here in most places. It's just a couple of big cities where it gets kind of high.
Yeah, when you look at averages, it's extremely misleading. Like there's some places that are dirt cheap, and then some places that are just insanely expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like but the prices of goods are going to have to go up. Like if you want to, companies don't do business in America because it's expensive. That's why the jobs leave. It's expensive to do work here or get work done here because the labor is so costly.
So your solution is to cut regulations, Dad?
Specifically the minimum wage and reduce cost of doing business here. Yeah, that would be my that would be my
how is that going to?
But
Dad, so I'll give you an example. It's a supply and demand one. So in New York, or one of the ideas of supply and demand is if you're building enough apartment buildings and etc., the rent should go down. Well, here that doesn't happen. So, I mean, if you're expecting, I just don't think you can stick to the rules of economics all the time and expect them to pan out the way that they should.
There's rent is especially not just New York, but just along the East Coast. There's so many controls and government programs intervene in the market. Like the moment you have programs where government guarantees payment of someone's rent, like that sends property owners into a totally different space where, well, if I rent to these people, my money's guaranteed. And it's just, why would you not kind of always want to go towards government payment because you know it's coming. It's just,
I don't think people are very keen on renting to Section 8 people, actually.
really out here in California, they most definitely are. That's where the money's at.
Oh, maybe
Guaranteed money.
Really, yeah. Just you don't really see it.
I'm just saying, if you own an apartment complex, would you want a tenant that was going to have the state send you a check every month, or where you had to rely on that tenant to have a job and come up with the money? Like, it just makes more sense as a owner to just have the state pay you guaranteed income, guaranteed money every month.
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. That's one opinion. But just you get into like zoning laws and like the space is finite, land, building codes, all of this adds like real estate in general is just it's a mess. It's a fucking mess.
But with that in mind, I just don't see how you expect the cost of goods to decrease simply by decreasing the cost of wages.
How do I expect the cost of living to come down? Well, it'll have to in order to turn a profit. First of all, there seems to be this idea that companies don't need people making enough to sell their products to in order to turn a profit.
The problem is, I mean, you already have, I mean, what is it? A very high percentage of people who have.
Or I'll use your earlier model, supply and demand. If people aren't earning enough, the demand will go down. So, and not enough products will be being sold.
Yeah, but we haven't seen that.
Well, we haven't actually tried. We haven't actually tried cutting wages. That's not a thing.
But if you cut wages,
that's not true. Hold on. That's not true because they cut wages every day when they ship out a job overseas. It's cutting wages.
Nah, that's not really.
Yeah,
that's not really what we're talking about.
You save money on wages right there.
Minimum wage. You know what? Such a small percentage of the workforce actually makes minimum wage. It's kind of just like painful to even debate. Like all the evidence suggests, all the evidence suggests that employers are not out to pay the lowest wage possible. Like if you just Googled it right now, what percentage of the workforce actually makes minimum wage? It's some ridiculously low number. I think it's under 10%. Like the companies are literally not trying to pay people the bare minimum. That's not how it actually works because they're competing for somewhat good workers, unless it's just a shit industry. And everyone likes to say, well, Walmart, greeters, like that's a shit job. Like you can't, that's not indicative of the entire economy.
But would you say that the minimum wage is like a safety net against like collusion by the corporations?
There's the number of industries where that kind of collusion is even possible is very small. Like what? And are you talking about like Target, Walmart, and Save Mart? Are these all your stores getting to get like who are you talking? Like what are you talking about when you even suggest something like that? Like who could collude? Like the only companies or industries I can think of that could do that are like ISPs. Like I can see like Time Warner, Comcast, AT&T. Like they're in a space where maybe regulation is needed. And I'm an anti-regulation guy, but they're in a space where the infrastructure is just, the barrier to entry into that market is just ridiculous. It's retarded. It's just insane.
We've seen collusion with banks and fixing interest rates.
But that involves the state. That involves government. They need a politician to help and make that happen. So that's a totally different boat too. Like
the oil industry has gotten
the LIBOR scandal wasn't government involved.
Anything that went on with the banks, someone in the state knew about it at some point in time.
The auto industry got caught fixing prices. Food companies get caught fixing prices all the time.
That's true too, yeah.
I
Drug
think
companies get caught fixing prices.
This always happens, and like you can name even 10 more, and you still wouldn't have even scratched like 2% of the economy. Like
I know
the economy is so huge. Like you take such little small incidences and try to extrapolate it to the entire.
But they all have a profound impact on your life, especially the industries we just named.
But trying to control prices has an even bigger one. That's why we're in the mess we are now.
Well, I don't think anyone's trying to fix. Well, I don't think the government is trying to fix prices. I mean, companies try to fix prices for profit.
Government instills price controls all the time. That's literally one of their main weapons in a lot of these industries.
Well, to a degree, but it's to the benefit of the taxpayer. It's not to the benefit of the fucking companies. Thank God.
Short term, maybe. Like you say, so with the supply and demand, it depends on whether or not the supply will continue to come. Like over here in California, they did it with PG&E. They capped how much they could charge for electricity. So then the manufacturers of the electricity just said, well, we can't turn high enough profit. We're just going to stop making the electricity. Power outages across the state. Like, it's just like simple supply and demand. Like, it's real.
Well, I think the
basic economic principles.
Well, the problem is with utilities companies. They're just so fucking corrupt in the first place. But they want the government to do all the infrastructure projects. They don't want to do any of the hard infrastructure themselves because that would fucking eat into their profits. So they have the government go fucking dig everything up for them, or they have the government lay the lines. It's all fucking bullshit. You know that.
Infrastructure is extremely precarious because a lot of it government's taken upon itself, and then when you try to hand parts of it out to private industry, it's like they all know that if they don't do it, government's going to do it.
Yeah, and
like
it's fucking mind blowing. I'll give you a great local example. I know we're getting close to an hour. Verizon, they got this huge deal, and Verizon's like, we could fucking name New York State Verizon at this point. Anyways, they were supposed to expand their FiOS network out to Brooklyn, and anyways, none of it ever happened. They got these huge subsidies, and everyone was going to get internet and high-speed internet. And I mean, we have all these things anyways, but FiOS got this huge sweetheart deal.
Right.
They never fucking completed the project at all. I don't even think they expanded it past fucking bridge. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. None of it ever happened.
So how do you feel? Well, I already know how you feel about Trump, but how do you feel about Trump calling out or being willing to call out companies that he feels are fleecing the government?
Like I said before, I think on the last podcast they touched on it. I just don't think it's appropriate.
So
he might be right in some cases, but I just don't think it's appropriate to essentially play God with these companies. And,
so you think companies are just free to fleece the government? You don't think there should be any repercussion,
right?
Are we talking about the government in regards to what? I mean,
just like Verizon, for example. Like, should they have to pay some restitution for not actually completing the project that they initially?
Absolutely. But I don't think it's on the president-elect to be doing this. I think the attorney general's offices, and I think prosecutors, and I think general news should dictate what happens with the stock market in these companies.
Okay, so you like the idea, you just don't like that it's coming from the top, from the very top. It's not presidential.
I disagree. I feel like he should drive policy.
It's not. I don't think, and I mean any president. This isn't just a criticism of Trump. I mean, that's who we're talking about, of course. But I don't think any president should be in that business. It's way too chaotic. And you see it once in a while in certain countries in Europe, and I just think it's really problematic, especially because these companies are big. They fuck over the taxpayers. That's not something to take lightly. And I think it should be tracked down against seriously. And one thing that New York has are good attorney generals who will go after our politicians and go after these companies when they fucking screw over the taxpayers. And I think that's what should be driving any type of, stock fluctuations or pressure on companies. I don't think it should be, it's definitely not up for the president to be doing this stuff. And again, like I said last time, when and Trump's he's just shooting from the hip. And, is he right to a degree? Of course he is. But I don't think that should be driving companies and their business practices one way or another. It's just not, doesn't mesh up well with me. And, my big concern, like I said last time, was that these are huge companies that employ thousands of Americans, and also the implications on people's pensions and 401ks who are invested in these American companies. For better or worse, they are American companies, and I don't.
Do you think sacrificing an American company in that way and scaring other American companies that were fleecing taxpayers could be a net positive?
I think it'll add too much uncertainty to the market. I don't think that's what the country needs. And I think if companies are doing things that hurt the American people, they need to be punished. It's not up to the president-elect. It's up to prosecutors. It's up to, whether it's a jury, trial, or whatever. It's not. I don't think the government at large should be playing life or death with these companies.
Now let's switch over to politics.
If Congress wants to enact laws, great. That'll have the impact that it's needed. If a prosecutor wants to bring fraud charges or any other kind of criminal charges, do it. Put people in jail, do what you have to do. But let's not, fucking quarterback from the sideline like, oh, this project's a couple $100 million too much, or I don't like pharmacy prices, or I don't like pill prices. And, are those fair statements? Yes. And I don't think it's for the president to say.
If they garner more votes, isn't it just good politics then at that point? Like, if he's winning people over with these outlandish, unpresidential statements, could he possibly just be a great politician despite being a complete idiot?
No, because if he's not actually going to do anything to change the situation, it's just lip service. You can say all you want about pharmaceutical companies and oil companies or whoever he's mad at the moment, Lockheed, Boeing, whatever. Okay, but if the situation on the ground isn't changing, and if Congress isn't doing anything, and if prosecutors aren't doing anything, it's bullshit. I don't want to hear it. What the fuck is the point? It's a waste of time. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, I don't need the feel good story. You want prices to drop on drugs? Find a way to cap them. Find a way to fucking tighten Medicaid. Find a way to make them have to bid for whatever the fuck's going on.
I always wonder why we never just reform our patent laws, because that would do a world of good if we just let other companies make these medications sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be incentivized to do it because they won't make the profit or as much profit or whatever,
That's the argument, yeah.
That's the argument I hear against it. And to your point, 88, I mean, what Donald is doing, you got to give voice to shit, because what Donald is doing is pretty much what Bernie did. He's putting, I guess, things to the forefront, and it's up to everyone else to either side with them or side against them or whatever, and mobilize their local politicians to become. But at least he's putting some voice to it, and he's putting it in the forefront of the public so that people can see it and people can talk about it and debate it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Even when Bernie does it, though, I mean, do they have a point? Absolutely. And does it need a voice? Obviously. I just don't know if the president's the person to be doing it. I think Bernie in Congress, I think that at least sits well with me, as he can actually make laws himself. And, Trump can put forward legislature. I mean, not directly himself, but I don't know. The thing is, Trump's having a direct impact on stocks, on individual stocks, and also.
That doesn't mean shit, man. Get the fuck out of here.
I think that's
currencies. Look at the stock market.
I know that's just the market. That's just the market.
Exactly. That's what it does.
It's just the market being fickle. Not one piece of legislation has been written to affect them in any way. It's just them being fickle.
Yeah, that's what should be happening.
They're just scary. And I mean, I'm not going to say they don't have a reason to be a little timid, but nothing's actually there's nothing moving yet. So they're just kind of jumping the gun, and he can't do it all by himself.
No, Trump, of course not. But I mean, it's having that impact. And the thing is, with what Trump says, do you see any Republicans taking it on themselves to go after these industries? I sure don't. So it's really just lip service. It sounds nice. I like it. I'm sure the public likes it. But if nothing is actually going to be done, it's all pointless. You're not going to see any Republican senators jump up and say, we need to reform healthcare in a meaningful way or protect taxpayers or any of that bullshit. It's never going to happen.
I gotta laugh at this shit, man, because if it's all lip service, it's all pointless anyway, because everyone that's come before him has been 95% lip service, kid.
That's the problem. He's a man.
I feel like out of everybody, he's the one that's got the most chance to do something, because I don't know, man. I guess he doesn't. Because in my opinion, he's not paying lip service. He's actually trying to do these things.
So you think he's egomaniac enough to actually try to get some shit done?
Exactly. Like a nigga like me, I talk so much shit that I gotta back it up, and I feel like he's the same way.
He's got to get something done. He has to have something to talk about.
Yeah, man, most definitely.
Something has to be done bigly in order for him to run for 4 more years.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Exactly. I'm sure he wants his legacy, and I mean, of course he does. Who wouldn't? But I don't know. I just don't. The things that Trump talks about publicly, there's no support for that from his Congress or his Senate. So,
yeah, to be honest, the Republican establishment is dying a slow death. It's I don't even think that matters. Mm-hmm. Not having Republican support. Half of them don't even claim to be Republicans anymore. They're conservatives. Yeah, I'm conservative. Yeah, I'm conservative. Oh, I'm a libertarian, or I'm in the middle. It's only the Huckabee guys, the fucking religious nuts, are still riding hard.
Oh yeah. Which is so bizarre. Bizarre.
The Santorums, the religious nutsos are always they're gonna be the last soldiers of the GOP.
Jesus, like the Japanese soldiers left on the islands.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Democratic Party isn't looking well. It is looking better, but it's not looking good itself. It's kind of directionless.
Yeah.
It seems like it's kind of retracting, moving away from the Sanders movement. It's just, I don't know what it's going to do next time around. I really don't. It doesn't really have an identity right now.
Kanye 2020.
They're just so up in the air. I mean, I think there will be, I think the shift to the left, I think that's real. They're just so fickle. The whole thing is so fickle. And, with what's happened with Trump getting elected, I think so many people feel stupid with the choices that they've made at this point. And depending on what happens during Trump's presidency, I mean, this is the type of thing that I think most liberals are going to have a hard time living down. And to really make sense of where they go next.
All right, let's spin it, 88. What if Trump does a great job?
I mean, I don't.
You can't even fathom.
Yeah, I mean, with my ideology, I just don't see him doing a good job with the people he's elected to the cabinet positions that he has. So I don't even see it as a possibility. If he were to do a good job, I mean, the thing is, Congress hasn't changed. They're the same fucking pieces of shit who did nothing the last 8 years, for the most part. So I just don't see a positive outcome. And if he did do an amazing job, there's not even politically aligned with my beliefs at all. So I just don't see that happening. I don't even know what that would look like.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And Gonzo, what are you going to say if he does an absolute shitty job? If he's just the worst president, there's cries for impeachment. It's just a total shitstorm.
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
So you're in a win-win position. Either he's win or I told you so.
Exactly, man.
What about yourself, Dad? What's
You're
your?
gonna ride that fence.
I think I'm kind of like in the Gonzo boat, but for different reasons. If he burns it all down, that's exactly what I was hoping happens. And if he's great, then he's great.
All right. What do you see rising from the ashes of this hypothetical?
You know, I don't see past the flames. I'm very.
I see.
We'll see when we get there.
Okay.
I just know that the changes I would like to see can't happen from within this system. So,
All right.
All right, we're at an hour.
All right. Take it easy.
All right, gentlemen. I'll see you guys.
Yeah. Take care.